current status of the truck is up on jack stands. I had to pull the torsion bars out to tighten the nut right there. I had forgotten to stake it when I redid the bushings in the front end like 3 years ago, and it had come loose. So I was able to take the entire control arm off and get to that. Did run into one issue on the passenger side. I snapped the adjustment bolt. The threads are buggered from me putting it in the vise and trying to pull the nut off. It is stuck on there. I tried heat. They've been soaking PB Blaster for 2 months because I've been putting this off because I honestly don't like messing with torsion bars. So right now, the torsion bars are just kind of sitting in there. I have 2 new sets of bolts with the nuts being sent to my local dealership. They're supposed to possibly come in today. If not, hopefully tomorrow. And today is June 8th. So once those are in, I will get the truck set back down and set the ride height. It's on 33 by 10.5s, and you can see it's been rubbing just on this inside panel. So I have right now just some self-tapping screws. I threw some paint on to match. They're tiny guys, but hopefully, and here's the drivers, you can see the, get the phone out of the way. You can see the rubbed clear mark there. I'm gonna put it, let's see if I can set this here so y'all can see it. Oh God, that'll do. See how this pushes in. So if I push that in, it actually doesn't rub. This is at stock ride height. So I have no lift, no crank on the torsion bars, no ball joint spacer, fitting 33s, which is pretty sweet. So I'll get those screws put in and get the new torsion bar bolts put in. And I might crank it a little bit because it does have a little bit of race car rake, meaning the front end's a little bit lower than the rear. If you can see that, it's all anti-seize on that ball joint. It makes getting them out super easy. Also, the ends of the tie rod, can you see in there? You can't really. I coated them in anti-seize as well. And they came in and out super easy. The torsion bars are not keyed on these trucks. They are indexed. It's very easy to see. Can you see my mark? You can see white paint marks on there. And I used a paint pen and I marked where the larger spline is. I'm not going to take the torsion bars out to show you, but you'll see a larger spline on them. The torsion bars are OMEs. So kind of when I did the front end, I prepared it to get a bumper, which is coming in the future here. But yeah, so that's the current status. So just got back from picking up the nut and bolt. New guys from my local Toyota dealership. If you're curious, that is the part number for the nut. That's this weird guy up here. And the bolt is that guy. These I was able to reuse. They don't really get stuck. That's where it sits in the adjustment arm for the tie rod. So I'm going to go ahead and start getting these put on. So you can see there's the parking brake cable coming through. That's the end of the adjustment piece. You can see the arm sitting up there. So how this fits together, this big guy sits on the top arm. You'll feel it slide in there. Small guy, this guy sits right up in here, and then you'll run the bolt through to the top, put the nut on, and make sure to anti-seize it so you can get this off again if you ever need to adjust it. So to get this on, you're gonna wanna put the nut in that top receiver first. It sits right up there. You can see I got the bolt together. I'm gonna throw some anti-seize on it, and he will slide all the way up through there. You can see him pushing on that bolt. All right, so you can see I've got it started by hand. I covered this thing in anti-seize. This passenger side is the side that was broken, but you can see how that guy sits up there. He's here. Let's see, can you see him? You can't really get in there to see him, but we will crank this down a little bit and then go to the driver's side. So it's the next morning. As you can see, I have a torsion bar out. I spent a bunch of time last night trying to get my measurements even, and I couldn't. This driver's side just didn't want to go up. The passenger side should be under its own weight. Oh, there's my dog. That would be Cirrus. And you can see it's lifted. I have a jack stand underneath the driver's side right now, but I was getting like 3/4 to an inch difference. And I had, so where's that bolt? So here's my bolt. I had, God, probably this close to this much thread out of this one, and the other one is only showing this much. So drivers, I had about that. Passengers about that, maybe a little less, and the passenger side was still higher. So I pulled this out. I actually re-anti-seized the end. I made sure that end was fully in. I hadn't accidentally pulled it out at all, because I noticed, let's flip this over. So you can see this mark right here. This end sits farther out than the passenger, and it looks like it has been for a while at this point. So I don't think it's a big issue, but I wanted to take it apart, just make sure that I had everything indexed correctly. I'm gonna pop this tire off and take a look in there, make sure everything looks okay. I did torque all the bolts to factory spec on the control arm, so I'm going to go ahead and verify that I did torque it all. I remember doing it, but we'll just make sure I didn't miss any, and I'll go ahead and put it back in, and we'll see what happens. So this is the weird issue. Let's see if I can get up there. I was running into where the passenger side set flat. This one has play in it. Now it's fully engaged up front there, so it's fully in there. All the splines are lined up, but I'm not sure why that won't sit level, or if it's supposed to be like that. I don't remember it being like that when I took it off. But I'm gonna go articulate the suspension a little bit and see what happens. So you can see I've got, a paint mark here. There's actually one down here too. This upper one is to index and match where I took it out from. And this bottom one shows me where the big flat spline is that matches. Let's get this guy. Ah, there it is. So that flat guy, you can see that's kind of keyed. So that fits into a specific spline in the receiver, both ends and one. So I'm going to go ahead and get that lined up, put this back in, get it. I'll get the bolt in enough to match the passenger side and set it down, and I'll drive it. We'll let it cycle a few times, and then I'll check the heights. So if any of you are curious, I have a set of manuals. I have this one. I have the one for the 3VZ motor. I need to find a good one for the 5VZ. I haven't found one for sale yet. And the full electrical system for this chassis. They're pretty much the best thing I've purchased for this truck. And you can see there's a used section here. And if we go there, it is mostly front suspension work. Specifically, so here's our torque specs. It breaks it all down for you. You can see these are the bolts I'm kind of thinking I might have missed one on. They take 131 foot-pounds, so those numbers there, so they tell you down here, Newton meters, kilogram foot per centimeter, and foot-pounds, and then obviously non-reusable part markings and things like that. So everything here looks to be good. All these, I know these were torqued to 64 because I did it outside the truck. Ball joint, those are only 25, so basically snug. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and check the torque on these after I pull the tire off. If you're curious, this is the nut that I had to retorque because I hadn't staked them. Now, it says non-reusable part. I had to reuse them. I didn't have new ones when I did this a couple years ago, and I still reused them. They're fine. It's just because you have to stake it. I ended up, when I put them back on, they weren't exactly in the same spot. So I was just to the side of the old stake. So I restaked them. They should be good to go. I'm not too worried about it. But yeah. So looking at the manual, it says, If you're reusing your torsion bars, tighten the adjusting nut so that the bolt protrusion is equal to that before removal. It's not valid for us since I'm cranking them up a little bit anyway. Hindsight, maybe should have marked them. But let's see if we go down here. It gives you a limit for the adjusting nut. So let's see. So you can see they're just using wrenches in here. There's their match marks. There's how they tighten it temporarily. It does say for ground clearance, A21. Oh, I should have marked that page. So let's go to, here's A21. I have a VZN 130. I have to look to see what the rest of it is, but they're all, so 31 by 10.5 is what this was spec'd with. So 12.16, 12.19. I have a 33 on it right now, so again, those aren't completely valid. But within, 1.8 inches-ish of that, since it's not a true, obviously not a true 33, it's like 32.8 or something. But so yeah, we'll measure all of these and see what we can figure out. I'm going to drop it down. I'll bump it a little bit, and we'll see where we're at. So it looks like we are just below 37 inches, about 36 3/4. When I first set this down, it was at 38. So definitely need to cycle it. Let's check this side. It looks a little lower. Yeah, so I've got some work to do. So that's closer to 36 and 1/8. All right, so I got to crank this thing a little bit. Okay, so I spent some time this afternoon. I have cranked the torsion bars up and down on both sides. I'm not able to get it perfectly even, but it wasn't even to start with. If I recall from when I measured this the first time, it was about between 1/4 and 1/2 inch difference between both sides after our shop did an alignment on it. So I have about 1/2 inch difference in the gap. I cranked the driver's side 2 full turns. Anecdotally, of course I read online, 8 turns is about 1 inch, give or take. So I give it 2. I'm going to drive it around tonight a little bit. We'll see how it settles down. But I'm pretty happy with how it came out. It hasn't rubbed yet. Again, if it does, I'll put the screws in. I went to put the screw in this side, snapped the head right off of it because I didn't drill a big enough pilot hole. So it is what it is at this point. We'll see if it rubs. Right now, handle's great. It's not too rough. And that kind of finishes up this project. It's been nagging at me for a while now, and I saw that those nuts were loose. So that's it. Thanks for watching.